I realized, I said, you know what? I've been giving my life to this business 20-something years. Mm-hmm. No kids, no husband. I haven't had any balance in my life. I need to take a break. A lot of times I went from mortgage bankers thinking, oh, I don't want nobody in the industry. I want to get a mortgage banker. He's just about his business. But then mortgage bankers like rap too. So they listen to Hot 97. Yeah. Dame and Jade breaking up. Tell me what's happening. You know the real truth. And I'm like, I'm not finna tell you that. That's their business. Yeah. Well, you my woman.
Oh, serious?
You know, I should know. I was like, yeah, okay.
You had these type of conversations?
In the bed. I said, oh, okay. Now, mind you, I got to the studio at around 8. So we hit a couple clubs. Now, DMX, again, wants you to fear God only. So, and walk on faith. So DMX would never let anyone else drive, and he'd never let you wear a seatbelt. Every woman in the music industry at some point has been sexually harassed. Big or small, they have. Mm-hmm. It's not always the artist. Sometimes it's their entourage.
Hey, what up? It's Game, man. NandoLeaks.
Hey, what's up? Yo, this is 50 Cent.
Hey, this is Rihanna Fernando.
Hey, yo, Fernando. What's up? It's DJ Khaled.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is J Balvin. NandoLeaks. Okay?
Fernando. X is in that station for a reason, baby. All right?
NandoLeaks. Real talk.
Yeah, what up, it's your boy Fernando, aka Mr. Keep It Hot, Keep It Banging. Welcome to my podcast, Real Talk, the realest conversations with entrepreneurs, motivational speakers. We got it all. Remember, check out the platform. We got a lot of next level conversation. Remember, Stedman Graham was on the show a couple of weeks ago talking about entrepreneurship, Oprah Winfrey taking it to the next level. We had TJ Jackson, Michael Jackson's nephew, right here on the podcast. But right now, I have a queen of A&R. This lady was the one that gave you This Is How We Do It. In 1991, she catapulted that song to being the #1 R&B hit song for Def Jam. Don't get it twisted. She's also the one that discovered Chris Brown when he was 13 years old. Yo, I'm freestyling this from the top of my dome, but she's right here, Tina Davis.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
You know the information. You got her down.
I love music. It's passion.
This is obviously a reunion because you interviewed Chris before.
Yeah.
So it's good to be here.
Yeah. And for the people that don't know, I interviewed Chris Brown when he was 17 years old. He came to Rotterdam. Mm-hmm. And he was a very young and energetic guy on his phone and just texting and he's busy, very animated. Mm-hmm. But that song Run It was unbelievable, produced by Scott Storch. But you discovered Chris Brown.
Yeah.
And people that don't know this, like everybody screams that it discovered. But listen, this is Tina Davis. She listened to a song with him with different artists on it and picked him out. So take us to that moment when you heard him for the first time. Did you know already this is it?
You know, his tone, you know how if you hear him on a song, you know it's Chris, no matter what. And it was about 8 to 10 artists on there. And when I heard his tone, I was like, oh, this kid, his tone is crazy. But I said, okay, it was actually at the time where Def Jam was kind of going through a transition. And Lior and Russell and Kevin and all of us were sort of like leaving, and L.A. Reid was coming into the building and running the show, and Jay, right? So I thought for a moment, I said, okay, I like his tone, but I'm not going to pitch him because just in case I go somewhere else, I want to make sure I bring Chris. That'll be the first thing I sign. So I definitely listened to his tone, and then they sent me a video, and I saw his little video. They said they spent like $5,000 on a video, but I saw his video, and I was like, okay, this is something I could work with.
Wow. And what was it that you saw? Because nowadays we have a lot of artists. We've always had a lot of artists, but right now everybody's a singer right now. But what was that thing that connected you with him? Like you heard the tone in his voice, but was there a certain style in the way how the energy that you saw in the video that you was like, okay, this could work?
You know what? I thought about the fact that there were a lot of solo male artists at that time. There was Mario, there was Omarion was breaking from B2K, and there was a few other R&B singers at the time, but they all were sort of darker brown skin or a little browner than him. So I was like, okay, he's a little fair skin. That's a plus. 2, when he was performing on his little video, he was doing a little acting too. And for me, I'm like, you're 13 years old and you're already acting things out and you're performing. And you could tell he wanted it bad. Even from the little video, you could tell he really wanted to do it. But I think when I saw him in person is when I really said, okay, yes, for sure. This kid is special.
Wow. And that's a gift because a lot of people hear the name A&R and they're like, oh, okay, but don't understand that an A&R, what means artist and repertoire, you have to have a vision. You have to have the insight to also see what it can be.
Yes, yes.
So where did you get that from? That insight? Is it God-given?
100%.
Okay.
I don't feel that any creative person on this planet learns how to be creative. I think it's innate. It comes with you. When you're born, you're creative. And there are things that show you that. I think the experiences, my father was a musician. My cousin was a rapper, is a known rapper now. Being around that helped me to kind of differentiate between artists and talent.
Okay.
And, kind of put it together. And then there's, movies and history of music that I really studied. I love the history of music.
Yeah, but and simple fact, you also studied classical piano. Was there a time in your life that you was like, I want to get into the music as an artist yourself? Was that at one point a dream of yours?
Okay. In the 3rd grade, we had this, we had recess, right? And at recess, we had yard duties, right? They were the teachers that would walk around and kind of make sure the kids were doing okay and they weren't fighting. Well, I don't know what made me do this, but I started giving concerts with my friends on the side of the building at recess.
Yeah.
So I started making the yard duties my security guard. So they would walk me to, I don't even know why I did it. They would walk me to the side of the building and then I perform every song that my mother and father played at the house, right?
Yeah.
I perform it in the little time that we had recess. And after a while, I started kind of building a fan base. But one thing I recalled more than anything was that I really couldn't sing.
Okay.
I sound horrible. I was horrible. The kids they were nice because I think they were just surprised that it was such a, production for everybody to be, me to have a yard duty and I'm coming in acting like I'm Michael Jackson or something. But, I realized early on, I was like, no.
But nowadays, if we had some auto-tune, we could have chose some auto-tune.
You know what?
Hey.
I could have had an album. Matter of fact,
we can still do an album.
I was just about to say, I might have to go and do an album.
I play it on the radio for you. Be like, this is Tina Davis. This is the remix. Y'all don't know me. Like,
exactly.
Busting out the dance moves and stuff. It's possible, man. If you can think and you can make it happen.
I believe it.
Get some featured artists on it. But like, and in this conversation, I also want to take a journey of the fact, like, being an A&R, you're also now like a big boss at Empire, president.
Oh
no. And being a powerful Black woman as well. I think that's very important also to have the audience to see someone they can envision doing something bigger that's kind of crazy. Because a lot of times we're focused in this male-dominated industry and you got yourself in the industry and you're Stan, now what? What are we going to do? So I think that's also very interesting to dive into later on. But let's take them on the journey. Because 1991, this is how we do it. Everybody know the song. Montell Jordan could tour for the rest of his life based on that song. That's his breadwinner. He's like, this is how we do it. He's still touring. Yeah, he's doing this thing. But that was a career-defining moment for you as well as an A&R.
Yes.
Take us to 1991. Finding that song, how does that come about? Is it a demo tape hanging around and you're accidentally picking it up? Envision me. Take me to 1991. What happened?
It's crazy because prior to working at Def Jam, I was working at a publishing company. And my friend told me that she was my boss. She was my best friend from high school. And she told me, she said, I'm going to fire you. So you need to make a name for yourself. And so I really hustled to try to make a name for myself. And the day that she fired me.
Your friend told you she was going to fire you?
Yes.
What kind of friend is that? I don't need those friends.
An amazing friend.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, because lo and behold, she called someone and said, I'm getting ready to fire Tina. So make sure if you want to hire her, you should call her.
Okay.
So but her reason for firing me is because she felt like I should be more than an assistant. Okay. So it was an inspiration, but she gave me tough love. basically. We were still friends after that.
Okay, cool.
So, excuse me. So from there, I was at Def Jam and I was working for a guy named Paul Stewart. Paul Stewart is well known in the industry in LA especially, but he's responsible for Coolio and a few others that people don't realize came from him, right? So Leor Cohen and Chris Lighty, rest in peace. Chris Lighty came into the office and said, "Who is Tina Davis?" And everybody started pointing at me, you know? And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? Who's Leor? He's loud. He's yelling at somebody on the phone. I kind of realized like Paul hadn't been in the office like for 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, what is going on? So Leor said, okay, Paul is fired. You're now running Def Jam on the West Coast. Go find us an office and put everything in there and move. Look at all the reels, get all the equipment, and move it over. So as I'm going through the reels, I'm like, okay, well, let me see which one is PNP and which one is actually Def Jam, because we can only take the Def Jam things. That's what I assumed. So I said, let me look. As I was going through, there was this cassette. And I was like, okay, well, let me hear it. Let me see what it says. Now, mind you, prior to that, I was with a cousin of mine and we were at her house playing spades. And the guy I was playing spades with was Montell Jordan.
Oh, no.
He was on his date with my cousin.
Oh, wow.
So, I didn't know, I wasn't thinking about, oh, this guy is a singer or anything like that. He was just dating my cousin.
Yeah.
Never brought it up. He didn't know I was in music. I didn't know he was a singer. So as I'm looking, I said, is this Montell? The guy that was at my cousin's house? So I played the song and realized that the sample was Children's Story by Slick Rick. And I said, oh, we own this sample. The song, of course, when you hear it, you know it's a hit. It's a little corny. If you go looking back now, it's like, okay, that song was such a novelty and so corny, but it's perfect for commercials and everything. So I sent it to Leor and said, this is a hit. You have to put it out. We own the sample, so we'll get paid in several ways. Let's move forward. He said, okay, will you jump out of the window for this? And I said, absolutely. And the rest is history.
Wow. And after that, because like those defining moments also create belief that people are like, okay, you want to jump out of the way? Okay. Oh shit. Because now you're Tina motherfucking Davis. Now you make things come out. We're like, hey, because I can imagine after that, you get another position. So what happened after that? After
that, because prior to it, actually, I came into the building as an A&R admin. Right? I was just doing the administration for the projects. And in that time, we couldn't get into studios in Los Angeles. Mind you, I was in Los Angeles away from the New York office. So I couldn't get into the studio. I couldn't,
why?
Because they weren't paying bills. The admin person that was there prior to me wasn't paying bills. Samples, people were calling nonstop trying to get the samples cleared, saying they're going to file lawsuits against us. M2May, several of them were calling. And so, rest in peace, M2May. I started clearing everything and I cleared the book. So at that time, that's why Leor came looking for me, because they were like, who is this girl? He had never seen me before.
Yeah.
He hired me over the phone.
Wow.
Literally hired me over the phone. So he had never seen me and I had been working there for like 6-7 months, right? So being there and running Def Jam on the West Coast, I started to kind of like, I did more A&R, but there was a project that they didn't finish and they needed someone to close administratively, right? So I closed the soundtrack quickly. So they said, okay, well, we have another soundtrack coming up and we want you to move to New York and we want you to do the soundtrack. And of course, at that point, I wanted to do whatever I could do to be able to be an A&R person. And Chris Lighty said, well, I need to find an A&R on the West Coast. And I said, no. You don't need to. I'm your girl. He said, why should I give you the job? I said, because I know what I'm doing. Look at this is how we do it. I'm trying to tell you. And he said, okay, well, we'll see, right? So they give me the soundtrack and it was Rush Hour 1.
Wow.
And so I, of course, didn't move to New York because they weren't paying me enough. I told him, I said, I can't live in New York on what you pay me. If I move to New York, you're going to have to be able to pay me enough to where I feel comfortable and I'm not struggling. Yeah. So I did Rush Hour 1 and 2 and Nutty Professor 1 and then Nutty Professor 2. And by that time, I got a nice raise.
and you're in New York.
I was in LA. And in LA, I was in A&R, but when I went to New York, I became the senior vice president of A&R.
Wow. Yes. We have to applaud these moments, because the simple fact that you knew your worth and you stood your ground. You said, I ain't coming out for that. You gotta pay me what. That's very powerful. To know your worth at such a young age and knowing how to move. Because I think that's the only way how you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Always, that's true. That's real talk. Like,
this is true.
People always think like there are not a lot of people that are going to give you what you deserve. You have to like show them and demand it for yourself. So I applaud you on that one.
Thank you.
But to the people that are listening and watching right now, and they're hearing you say, like, I did Rush Hour 1 and Rush Hour 2, could you take us in the process of working the whole project, like Rush Hour 1? Do you think about the producer's the guy to be on it? Do you think about the artist? Do you have a vision? Do you have a storyboard? Take us in the process of A&R and like a soundtrack. How do you start? How do you begin?
To be honest, I didn't even have a relationship with half of the artists that were on the soundtrack, right? They knew of me because I was closing albums, meaning I was making sure the credits and the lyrics and all the producer agreements and things were done. So they knew this one lady kept calling, asking for credits. Yeah. They didn't know who the hell I was. Yeah. So that process was a little harder on the West Coast without knowing Method Man or Redman or any of them. Yeah. But the one thing that we did, which I think is brilliant, is we like to break artists from our soundtracks. So we had records that our A&R team was already working on. So we would just gather those songs, their biggest records, or one of their biggest records, off of their album and put it on the soundtrack. And it'd still go on their album, but we put it on the soundtrack and use the marketing money from the film to be able to break our artists.
Smart.
So it was a lot easier because at that time we were the mecca of hip hop and we had everyone.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't as hard as it would be if we didn't have a roster already set up.
Yeah.
That was already successful. So yes, it was calling producers, but for the most part, a lot of it was pulling records from people. And I would get lists from other labels and look, because I wouldn't just put Def Jam artist on it. I would look at the rosters of other people and see what fit. And I'd call the manager and say, hey, I'm doing a soundtrack for Rush Hour 1 with Chris Tucker and so on and so forth. These are the artists we have on here so far. Do you have a record? And that every process, every soundtrack, that was pretty much the process.
Wow. And how was it working with one of my favorite rappers? Like, you could see I'm still honoring him, DMX. I interviewed him in 2006. Legendary guy. You also worked with him.
Yes.
Also worked on Belly. Could you tell us your DMX story? Because
first of all, DMX was the most beautiful person to work with. He wasn't easy at all, but he was so respectful. And he would never call me Tina Davis. It wouldn't just be, hey, Tina Davis. It wouldn't even be Tina, because most people use both names, Tina Davis. He called me Tina Davis from Def Jam every single time. Hey, Tina Davis. Hey, Tina Davis from Def Jam. And I'm like, hey, DMX. Tina Davis from Def Jam. What are you doing? Tina Davis from Def Jam. So he would always say that. But the one thing about DMX, and I won't say every artist, but some artists are like this. Each project, he would get into it with the person that was pushing him to get the music out and forcing him to get it in a timely manner. So he would get into it, or he'd get mad at that person because they were really pushing, right? And you have to sometimes. You got to put pressure on diamonds to shine.
Yeah.
So every album, it'd have to be another A&R person that be involved. So Rough Riders obviously were always there. But after a while of D and Y telling him what to do, he was like, I don't want to listen to you. So he'd be mad at him. Then Irv had to kick in. So then Irv is dealing with it. And he's like, I'm tired of Irv. Then he go on to the next one. And it's Randy Acker. So then Randy Acker is there. So then finally we went through everybody. And he was like, okay, Tina, now you have to do it. I'm like, God damn it. Okay. I love X.
Yeah.
Damn, he's a lot, right? The one thing about X is that he respected you only if you feared God, if he knew that you feared God. If you didn't have a fear of God, then he wouldn't listen to you. Right?
Yeah.
So I called him and I say, X, guess who's your A&R? And he's like, Tina Davis from Def Jam? I say, yes. And he said, okay, so you need to come to Arizona and spend time with my family. I said, okay, I'll be there maybe out 2 or 3 days. He's like, no, 2 weeks. I need you to come here for 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, Arizona for 2 weeks, DMX. Okay, let's go. I mean, at the end of the day, I had to get the album done, right?
Yeah.
A&Rs have to do what you have to do to get the album done.
Yeah.
So I fly to Arizona. He puts me up in his house, beautiful home. And I'm in a twin bed across from his daughter in her room, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sleeping in his house.
Yeah.
He would not let me get a hotel. So we're there too. And I kept trying to ease into, hey, so what's your vision for this? He's like, no. Tina Davis from Def Jam, not finna talk about this right now. We need to relax. I need you to feel the energy, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, okay, whatever. So, and of course, being with him and with Tashira and all the family was awesome. They just beautiful people. So one day, it was like close to the last day, right? And we still hadn't said anything. Leo, everybody's like, so what's the game plan? I'm like, I have none, right? So he said, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to take two 4x4s and we're going to drive them up the hill, get up to the top, watch the sunrise, smoke a little something, and then come down and have dinner. And I said, oh, okay, cool, right? Not the sunrise, the sunset. Yeah. So I said, oh, okay, cool. You know, I'm thinking, damn, I got to smoke with this guy. I'm not really a smoker. I'm not, but I'm like, okay, I gotta do what
we gotta get the project. We gotta get the project.
Project from DMX. So I'm like, damn. So, you know, I'm thinking this is nothing. I've driven one of those little 4x4s. That's nothing, right? Yeah. So we riding. And I realized when he said we gotta go up the hill, it wasn't a hill, it was a freaking mountain. Right? So we're going up. It's like 80 feet. As we're going up, I'm looking over the side. It's a burnt up truck at the bottom. It's all type of shit at the bottom of the hill. And I'm like, oh. And as I'm going up, I'm getting scared. I'm nervous. We get to the top. It's gorgeous. Now, mind you, Arizona is pretty much flat. But this hill, it was so pretty to see the sunset. And then we're smoking. Of course, I hit his blunt and I'm paranoid as hell. And I'm like, damn. I gotta go down this hill and it's dark. Yeah. Didn't think about that. Yeah. No lights. So he's like, come on, let's go. And I'm like, wait, I don't know if I could do it. He's like, no, you could do it. Trust God. You have to walk on faith. So then we said a prayer. I get on the four-wheeler and I'm going down the hill and somehow I hit this rock and I couldn't go over it. And it was like, zzz. And I was like, oh. Now, mind you, backtracking, on the way there, I fell. I hit this little thing, I don't know what it was, and I fell off the four-wheeler.
God was telling you to stay off.
Right, so I dusted it off. I was like, I can't act like I'm a girl and can't handle it. Let me get up and get back up. Yeah. Got on there and he was like, yeah, Tina Davis from Def Jam, you did it. So I'm going down. I'm like, okay, if I don't want to go over this hill, I might go to if I go over this rock, I might go to the left and fall off this hill. I don't know where I'm at. I can't see anything in front of me. The little light that's in the front is flickering, going on and off. So he's like, you could do it. Just punch it. Punch it. You could do it, Tina Davis. Punch it, right? So I punched it. And I fly over the thing and literally I held on to the thing all the way back to his house. Tears was coming out my eyes, all down my face. By the time I got back to this porch, they were all crying, laughing, because I left them because I was so scared. And I left them. They're like, Tina, you did it. You did it. Wow. Let's go inside, have some dinner, and talk about the album. I'm like, God, thank God.
You almost died.
I almost died trying to get the song. You know, so, but he always would make you do certain things. Another quick little story is, you know, at that time, we were really about branding Def Jam. So in branding, we had to put Def Jam in the beginning or the end of every song. Yeah. So people don't even pay attention to that. But if you go back and listen to the songs, you hear Def Jam. The artist always says it, right? So DMX never wanted to do what we wanted him to do. So we were like, hey, this record is a hit. I need you to put Def Jam on it. He was like, I'm not doing it. So I was like, Tina, you need to go to the studio and talk DMX to put Def Jam on the song. I'm like,
oh, wow.
So I get to the studio. I was like, hey, X, you know why I'm here? He's like, yep. I said, okay. He's like, I don't understand why I need to put Def Jam on there. I'm signing Rough Riders, and I can't understand why that matters. I was like, well, it's a branding tool. It allows us to all come together. We're a team, we're a family, blah, blah, blah. Def Jam is the mecca of hip hop. It means a lot to the industry. It means a lot to Def Jam. It means a lot to Leor and Russell. He said, yeah, okay, let's go. I need to go to a couple of clubs, so I need you to go with me. And I said, oh, okay. Now, mind you, I got to the studio at around 8. So we hit a couple clubs. Now, DMX, again, wants you to fear God only. So, and walk on faith. So DMX would never let anyone else drive, and he'd never let you wear a seatbelt. So we're in the car, and he's doing, it's probably 35 miles per hour. He's doing 80, flying. If there's traffic, he's on the sidewalk. He don't care. DMX fears nothing, right? So he's sidewalking. We're like, oh, and he's like, you all right today with Def Jam? I'm like, no, I'm good, right? Scared shitless. So we go to about 4 or 5 clubs. We get back to the studio at about 3 o'clock in the morning. He goes into the booth and goes, Def Jam. Sits there and goes to sleep. And I'm like, all this shit just to get, and he goes to sleep. But I got that shit done. And I went in the office and like, here you go.
I know you can copy paste it on every song.
No, because I wasn't doing that again.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this is a very, because we listen to these records here, Def Jam, Rough Riders.
Mm-hmm.
But now you say it, but it was a marketing tool to get it very smart.
To brand it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember when you did like the Def Comedy Jam as well. Because that's when I fell in love with DMX. When I saw him, it's a pops in here.
Yeah.
That tape, that energy. I wish I was in that Apollo Theater. That one, Money Cat.
Def Comedy Jam was amazing.
Wow.
We were the purveyors of taste. We were the mecca. We did it, even to the point of when we started doing the video game Vendetta.
Yeah.
Like we did it all before everybody else thought about it.
Yeah. The video games and the Fight of New York.
Mm-hmm. Survival of the Phillies concerts.
Yeah. Oh.
A lot of that stuff was honestly Leor's idea.
Yeah.
Leor was a brilliant marketing guy. Brilliant. He ran the company and owned the company, but he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. That's how I like you have like the VCRs. I watched that tape till it popped. Every time I was reversing it, I watched it, I popped. And that was the video performance I saw. And I was like, one day I'm going to interview him. And people started laughing at me. And it was like, you're going to interview DMX. So when I interviewed him, and we had that energy, that vibe, because I remember like everybody was saying, you're not going to interview him. I figured out the hotel where he was at. And the same thing with the DMX story is that I was supposed to interview him. Then he was like, yeah, I'm going to go out and get a tattoo.
It's never simple.
No. He went for a tattoo. The manager didn't want me to do the interview. He was lying to me and saying like, we'll do it tomorrow, but I already know. You try to show me in front of the bus, right? Because I know you guys are leaving to Germany tomorrow. So I figured out where he was at. Then like 2, 3, 4 hours later, I met him in the city. He was like, I thought you left. I was like, no, I didn't leave. I was waiting for you. Well, we could do it now. And we did an interview in the city in Amsterdam in 2006. People was just seeing us, me with a microphone talking to him. It was legendary. And I love that guy. That album is Dark as Hell. Has changed my life.
Yes.
Doom. What? Hey, that energy, that voice, rest in peace. That's why I honor him with the speakers. So when this podcast starts, you hear his voice in the intro. That's how I always give my love to him.
He's amazing. But we were so good at marketing. I think that year we put out 2 albums and they were huge for him.
Yeah.
But that project, there's a guy named Rob Love who ran our street team.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you he created guerrilla marketing, because he would do things that we knew we would get fined from the city. We knew. So we just have a budget on the side for fines.
Yeah.
Because we just broke every rule, right?
Yeah.
So for that album in New York, I don't know if you're familiar with West Side Highway in New York. It's a street that goes the length of Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a West Side and East Side Highway, and they are on each side of the mountain of the island of Manhattan. And every few blocks, there's a light.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously you have to stop and keep going.
Yeah.
And it's maybe 15, 20 miles, I don't know. Right? So Rob Love at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, got up on a U-Haul truck with his team and stapled the little placards or whatever they were called. I forgot, but they are little posters with the artwork on it, right? On every stoplight, on each side. So every time you stop, you look up and there's him with blood all over him.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, what the fuck is this, right?
Yeah.
At every stoplight, all the way down on both ways. Yeah. So in the morning, the news, helicopters, the police, traffic is building up. People are getting in accidents. The helicopters news is saying, Def Jam recording artist DMX has an album coming and they put such and such and such and they're going to be fine. Da, da, da. So that was our marketing for the project.
Wow.
It blew up because it was all over the news.
Yeah, that album was crazy, man.
But we knew we would have a fine and we got fined. New York fined us. Yeah. But it was worth it.
Flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. All my niggas get down like what? Yeah. And that was the one that was an album where Swiss Beats produced more because he only did the Rough Riders anthem on the first album. It was more PK doing a lot of beats and Dame Grease. Shout out to Dame Grease, legendary producer. But like that second album was, well, and I remember that it was Leo that like challenged him to do like a second album. And he said like, if you do the album within a year, you get a bonus. Yes. He's like, okay, let's go.
Yes.
That was true? Okay.
That was true.
Wow.
And the reason why Swiss wasn't on the first one as much is because he was just sort of like, Y and D, obviously their family. They were testing him, you know, like, okay, you need to earn your keep, earn it, earn, you know, production. Let me see what you have. Yeah. So he was beating people out. Trying to get on it. It wasn't like a given, like, okay, you're family, so you get on DMX. No, he worked his tail off.
He was hungry, man.
He was hungry.
Yeah, because that guy used to sleep on the floor just
hungry, yes. And DNY definitely respected that. And he got his turn and killed it.
Yeah, and all of DMX big hits were with him.
Yes.
Even Party Up. DMX didn't like the song, but it was like, oh, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Until the very day now, we still talk about it. Yeah. Rest in peace, DMX, man. I always like these DMX stories. It's crazy. And how long did you actually stay at Def Jam? Because like Def Jam had a crazy run. I mean, like my favorite years of hip hop was the 90s. Like I think, let me see. My favorite time in hip hop was 92 till 2001, 2. That's my favorite era because then you had the Wu-Tang, they were loud and I say like I love that period and I like the whole Def Jam period of when you had DMX, but also Method Man and the whole like the Belly, the grand finale, dun 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 dun, bum 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 bum. Oh my God! No, I get all happy when I hear that stuff.
Right?
Did you also go to Jamaica for the Belly soundtrack?
I did not go to Jamaica.
Okay.
But we definitely. I was there for 11 years.
Wow.
I left in 2004, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
2004. Okay. And why did you decide to leave? Because it was that's the Mecca of hip hop.
The regime change.
Okay.
I considered staying with L.A. Reid, but he fired me, so I had to go.
Another guy fired. What's wrong with these people firing you? But sometimes being fired is a blessing, like you said. If your friend, I know she's still your friend, but the one that fired you, that was the reason how you got to Def Jam. And that led to the Montell Jordan stuff and the DMX stuff and all these amazing stories. So at the end, it's still a blessing. Was this a blessing being fired as well? Or
it was the best thing ever happened to me because LA, at the time, you know, there were a lot of different changes. He was firing everybody. Whenever there's a regime change, they usually fire everyone in the team. But because I was an A&R, I was one of the last that they were going to let go because I had to, you know, the relationship with the artist. So they wanted to make sure that people felt secure with me being there or me leaving. But I also, prior to leaving, signed Neo there, right? So once I signed Neo, they were like, okay, damn, I don't know if we should let her go. We should keep her. But LA, of course, let me go. But I have to tell you the story because this is a weird story. So after Neo, LA said, I need somebody younger though. I love Neo and we're going to put everything behind him. He's amazing, but I want another singer, dancer that reminds me of Usher that's young so we can have a long career with him. I said, remember, I didn't want to give it up. So I was like, I have someone else. And so to me, I thought to myself, I said, well, maybe I might stay here. If I have Neo here, maybe I'll stay with LA because I knew LA for a long time at that point. So I said, maybe I'll stay. And I played him Chris and we brought Chris in and he performed. And as we were closing the deal, we had maybe 1 point to change or work on Thursday. Friday, they were able to resolve it. And he was destined to come on Monday to sign his paperwork in front of the cameras. You know, back in the day, we used to be in front of the cameras, like pretending like we're signing at that moment.
Yeah.
On that Friday, I came in the office and they fired me. And while they were firing me, they were calling Chris saying, hey, we're getting ready to fire Miss Davis. But we want you to still sign here. We just want you to know that she will no longer be here. And he said, okay, thank you for the information. But by the time I got back from Human Resources to my office to grab my stuff, my phone was ringing. I answered the phone and Chris said, Miss Tina, don't go to the office. They're going to fire you today. I was like, how the hell do you know I'm getting fired? He's like, oh, they just called me. I said, oh, right. So I said, hang up. I'll call you when I get to my car. They already fired me, but I'm going to the car. So I get in the car and I said, listen, you are the next Michael Jackson of this era. Anything you need from me, whether I'm getting paid or not, please call me because I have a lot of relationships and I just want to be a part of greatness. I see what you are and I just want to be a part of it. If I could just actually give you one thing to help you, it will fulfill just what I have done in the music business for me. He said, okay, Miss Tina. So the next day, he and his mom called me and said, will you manage me? I was like, absolutely. Mind you, I did not want to do management. Prior to that, I never wanted to be a manager.
Why?
Because it's 24 hours and it's a thankless job. And when everything goes right, you didn't do it. When everything goes wrong, it's all the manager's fault. And I didn't want to be that busy with someone else's life, you know? And being at Def Jam, we didn't live. All we did was work. It was 24 hours a day. We kept our phone near our pillow. Leora literally said, keep your phone on and keep it near your pillow. Because if I call you, I want you to answer the phone. I don't give a fuck what time it is. And if I call you, I might have someone on the phone, so don't sound asleep.
Oh, wow.
The phone would ring. We'd be like 3 a.m. Hello, Def Jam. Acting like we're not asleep. We were knocked the fuck out, but we act like we weren't asleep. So, at that point, I just didn't want to manage anyone. And with him, you can't say no to Chris Brown as a manager. So I did it.
That was before his first single came out.
Oh, yeah, far before.
Wow.
By that Wednesday, right? Because I was fired on Friday. So by that Wednesday, we had 5 other deals. Leora had left and gone to Warner. And I called Leora. I said, listen, there's this kid I was going to sign at Def Jam, and he already has an offer. And this is how much they were going to pay him. Yeah. But I don't want him to sign there, and I'm managing him now. So I need an offer from you over at Atlantic. He didn't even see the kid. He just sent me the offer. And it was more than what Def Jam.
But he ended up going to Jive, right?
Yes, because they flew us out to LA to see Kevin Liles.
Yeah.
And perform for Kevin. And I told him, I said, please make sure that we're in a room that doesn't have carpet. Excuse me, because I knew he wanted to dance. So I said, please don't have carpet. Have a room where I can allow him to dance. And so we go and we perform for Kevin. And Kevin was like, yeah, he's cool. He's all right.
Huh?
And I was like,
He didn't see it.
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
And I said, okay, no problem. He's like, let's make him different from Omarion. Omarion dance, what makes him different? I said, okay.
Oh, wow.
So Jive, I went to, but they still gave me the offer. Yeah. Regardless, because it was me. That's my family. Yeah. Right? So, and everybody doesn't see everything. So it was okay. Plus Usher was amazing at that time. So everybody felt like no one's beating Usher. Yeah. So I went to Jive. And the next day I was supposed to meet with Clive after Jive. But when I went into Jive, at that point, Chris was there, Chris Lighty, and Mark Pitts was there, and Barry Weiss. was running it. And so I went into Barry. Barry said, yeah, this is great. I want to bring people into the conference room. Let's have him perform. I want to bring Mark Pitts and Chris Lighty in there and everything. I said, okay, no problem. So we go in there, Chris performs, jumps on the table, does all his stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, damn, he's great, right? So I guess Chris and Mark were like, you got to sign him. First and foremost, I know they were like that because they support me.
Yeah.
So they were like, got to take care of Tina. But more importantly, the kid was talented.
Yeah.
So we were on our way out. We got down to, and I was so happy that we were able to get down to the lobby, and we were walking out the door, and Peter Thayer called me and said, I don't know how we let you out the building. Please turn around. Do not leave. We want to sign you, and we don't want you to leave unless we close the deal. I said, I'm going to his attorney's office, call his attorney, and we can get on the phone, but I'm not coming back upstairs. So we go to his attorney office, and the bidding war started. LA was trying to beat out Jive. Jive was trying to beat out Def Jam and Atlantic. They were all bidding.
Wow.
We got up to like $2 million, $3 million at the point.
For his first deal.
That's
That's real good.
Yes. Now, mind you, at Def Jam, he was getting, I hate to say it, but he was getting like maybe $300,000.
Serious?
So,
the audacity.
I mean, it was early. He didn't have any records out. You know what I mean? The deal that he got was large for a new artist.
Yeah.
So people were pulling up the stops. LA had Usher calling. LA had other artists calling Chris. And
to convince him to come over.
Yes.
Wow.
So the last thing, and Chris was 13. He was a very smart kid because he was like, you know, I like LA Reid and he has history, and Usher was there. I mean, was with him at LaFace. He said, but I want to know how he's going to work with you now that he fired you and you're on the other side of the table. So let's go meet with Def Jam, and I want to ask him.
Wow. He's very loyal.
Very loyal. So we get to the table and he asks, so now that Tina's my manager, how are you going to treat her? How is that going to affect my business? There's like, we love Tina. It's just, da, 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 da. He was like, well, why did you fire her? So he had to explain to him why he fired me, which was some bullshit. It wasn't the truth.
Yeah.
But he said whatever he had to say to try to get the deal. So I'm just sitting there and his mom is quiet. And then Jive, of course, sends another offer, but it included homeschooling and money for him to finish his education. And I said, you know, Jive gets it. They understand that you need to get a high school diploma regardless of whether you're going to be a star or not. And two, they've broken little kids, whether it's Britney Spears or it's Justin Timberlake. Like, this is what they do. Yeah. Right? So I said, okay. And then I thought about Def Jam. Who's going to be the A&R person that I'm going to work with? I know I'll be doing A&R, but who am I going to tag team with? Yeah. And I wasn't comfortable with who they had at Def Jam. Okay. So with Chris Lighty or Mark Pitts, I was like, oh, I can't go wrong with these two. Yeah. So because of the fact that they had that homeschooling aspect or verbiage in the agreement, and because of the A&R people, we chose Jive. Wow. He didn't even want to go to Jive. He didn't want to even perform for Jive. Why? Because someone, I'm not going to name the artist, told him that Jive is full of shit. Okay. That they don't promote Black artists. Okay. And
misinformation.
Misinformation. It wasn't misinformation for them because they weren't promoting them.
Okay. Okay.
But they, it was the right thing for them. They chose. Yeah. So we ended up going to Jive.
Oh, wow. But you're the one that got the bidding war started to get the price up from 300 all the way up to 2 million. So shout out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's like no, but also shout out to him for him being so loyal, because like this music industry, you can tell us more about it. Like it isn't based on loyalty, because people like they laugh at you today. It's about Tina who? Mm-hmm. Like they get amnesia. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like they forget. How is that for you as a professional? Like on one hand, we're having dinner today. We're hanging out. We're cool. You're calling me, inviting me over to your house. And the other day, you could just fire me or stab me in the back. How do you cope with that? How do you find places to separate the business from the personal? Like, yeah.
Well, first and foremost, in this business, you cannot put your personal feelings in it. Okay. If you put your personal feelings in it, you will be hurt every time. Yeah. And for a woman, we are very emotional. We all know, right? So I knew early on trying to be an executive, especially in A&R, I can't walk around with my emotions on my sleeve, right? And being at Def Jam, I was around so many artists in A&R so often. Like I said, DMX, 1 minute he loves you, the next minute he don't want to talk to you anymore. They all were like that. Yeah. You know, there was several times that Foxy calling me, come downstairs, bitch. I'm going to kick your ass, talking to me, you know, or on the air talking about, yeah, Tina Davis and da-da-da-da. So, but mind you, I'm in the studio getting her budgets to get her album done, and we're great. Me, her, Gavin, her brothers, we're great. Yeah. But she was pissed at something, so she's cussing me out. So they were already fickle, so I knew that was the process. And I didn't take it personal because I didn't even take it personal for Foxy because I know that they live in different degrees of emotion. Mm-hmm. And their job is to provoke and evoke and invoke emotion out of people, right? Yeah. So if that's their jobs, they have to live in those different degrees of emotion. So I know that some days she's nice and happy and some days she's pissed and depressed and she's going to cuss me out or he's going to cuss me out. So I kind of expected it, you know? So I didn't wear my heart on my sleeve and I compartmentalized my emotions.
Okay. It's a very good one because I wouldn't be able to handle that one. And I'm a male, but I'm very emotional and I don't forget. I'm like Alfred, like you okay. We'll see if we're gonna get some budget on your album. Like
it's hard in A&R especially.
Yeah.
You cannot have that. You cannot be emotional in A&R because one, they're emotional. In the recording process, that's the most vulnerable time for them. So they're very emotional. Some days they'll come in and they're pissed. You know, Keith Murray will come in and he's mad at his girlfriend because they didn't argued and now he don't want to record and the studio is $3,000. The engineer is another $1,500 and they walk in during the session is like, I'm not recording Tina Davis because I'm da-da-da-da-da.
He could have been much, but he was in his own way.
He was.
If he just let his emotions aside, he was so dope.
He was.
He had everything like set up. What?
Yeah, he was.
Keith Murray?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
He was amazing.
He was amazing.
The
delivery
thing in this world.
Yeah, and his mannerism, he had that. Mm-hmm. He had that animated side about it, but very verbally, like, wow, he was
a lyricist. He was amazing.
Yeah. I felt so bad that like sometimes you see artists and it doesn't work out for them, but it's because they're in their own way. Mm-hmm. Like your personality can really, even if you're very talented, but if your personality doesn't coincide with like you have to be a people's person.
Yes.
Because like a lot of artists that become real big are very good at dealing with people. If you look at like Jay-Z, smart businessman. I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman. He was already like, I mean, how else do you become the president of Def Jam? Then you move up and then you come up with your own company, Rock Nation. Have you ever thought that Jay-Z would become that big as an entrepreneur? Because he gone beyond the stars. Like, I've never thought, I've thought he might be rapping still, doing stuff, but I've never seen a rapper do what he did.
I think if you were around Jay and Dame and Big and the whole regime, you could see it, you know, because he didn't say a lot when he was in your presence, but whatever he said was crucial. It was important that you listen to whatever he said because there was something behind everything he said.
Yeah.
He carried himself in a professional manner at all times, but also a loving person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you look at his staff. A lot of the people that were still working, some of them are still working to this day. They were hungry young kids that maybe never did it before. And he believed in them, and Dame believed in him. Dame really pushed everybody. Like Dame ran everything.
Yeah.
But Jay was the powerhouse. Like his energy, the way he carried himself, his stature let you know that he at some point he was definitely going to be running things. When he became the president of Def Jam, that's when I was like, oh yeah, he got a whole nother plan.
Yeah.
He's going somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was like, I never see that. And then he signed like Nas, and I was like, okay.
This is weird.
This is weird. But it's a chess move. He came with ether, but he signed him on paper. I was like, okay. Then they did the Black Republican song. I was like, he's always been
two steps ahead.
Yeah.
He always has.
Very.
And he was, like he said, like the song Change Clothes. He started the button-up shirts. He started changing hip-hop. He was influencing where people were going at that point. And he continued to do it.
Yeah.
You know, he's still doing it.
I felt so bad when he and Dame like
parted ways.
Yeah. Because in my mind, they were the blueprint of how Black people, Black men could collaborate and build an empire. Because like prior to that, everybody said, yeah, he's an amazing rapper, but nobody believed in Jay-Z at that time. He was rapping fast with the speed flow with Jazzo, and nobody saw it. He had his like big grill, and nobody saw nobody saw it. Nobody. And like how they build up Rockefeller, I was like, yeah, I like that. That's like going from shit to sugar, like creating your own empire. So when they fell out, I was like, come on, man. I don't want to see this. I don't like them, like as Black people fighting and him calling him names. Like, come on. Like, it takes off the magic. Yeah. I don't like that. It's like we can have beef, but let's do it out of the camera reach. Because
not in front of the camera. Yeah. No one should know anything.
No one should know. This, we have beef between, because it's like what he said, let's keep that between me and you. That's what we should do. Yes. But I still believe that Jay-Z won that battle with Nas. I have a whole conversation with a friend of mine. I was like, nah, the takeover, boom. Come on. No, but let's take it to the part where you, as a woman in this male-dominated industry, like I have a lot of female friends working in the industry, and they always complain to me that they have to get all these guys that they meet, the producers, the A&Rs, they have to convince them, no, I'm not going to sleep with you. There's another thing. Is that still a problem? Did you have it in that time that people was like trying to come on to you in a non-professional way? Is that, have you ever dealt with that idiocracy?
I think every woman in the music business have dealt with that. Okay. Every single woman. I have to say, I think, it's just my opinion. Yes, I have. And I do feel that every woman in the music industry at some point has been sexually harassed. Big or small, they have. And yes, it was hard, especially in A&R, because you're in the studio, they're drunk, they're high, and their homies are there. And it's not always the artist. Sometimes it's their entourage. Yeah. You know, and you have to be professional, but still be stern and still be able to pull something off, get a record done with that artist. Yeah. So you can't go in and you're the artist and you know, the friend is like, hey, let me take you out. Let me take you dinner. You're like, no, leave me the fuck alone. And then your artist is like, why are you talking to my boy like that? So it's always that juggle, right? So, you know, I, of course, had to learn this thing that I call the hug and slap, right? I tell everybody, I learned it from a few people, but it's now called the hug and slap. Back then, I just did it. Yeah. But, you know, you give people compliments and then tell them what you have a problem with, right? So I used to try to reach out to Sylvia Rohn and a lot Vivian Chu and a few of other female executives to ask them, how do you deal with men in this industry? Because everyone has. Like I literally, that's all I wanted mentorship for, was to learn that. How do you deal with these men? And Chris Lighty, I asked him, I said, you're a man. Let me ask you, how do I deal with these men? And he said, well, first of all, it's going to be hard for you because you're pretty. But if you weren't pretty, it still would be hard. But one, you have to, you know, when you're in the studio, don't come in there with dressed all up. Come in there like you're in the studio. When people go to the studio, they're usually comfortable. So don't, you coming in here right now with these Gucci heels on and these jeans and all that, that's great for the office. But when you get to the studio, look a little thuggish. Put on your Timbs, have on your sweats, right? And I was like, oh, that's it. That didn't matter. It did nothing. They were just like, you my kind of girl. I love that. I'm like, damn, that didn't help. So then I went back to him. I was like, that shit didn't help, Chris. And he was like, damn, okay. He said, so this is what you do. Ask them a question. Ask them, if I was your girl, would you want me to date you or be friends with you, even though I had or with another man, even though I got a man? And they'd be like, oh, because they always say, come on, let me take you out. I was like, no, I got a man. You always say I got a man. I don't care if you're single and haven't been.
Always say you got a man.
You always say you got a man.
Yeah.
You got a man.
Yeah.
Then they go to, we can't be friends. Right? That's the next line. We can't be friends. So you wait for that line.
Yeah.
So when that line comes, you say, man, would you want me to be your friend if I was your girl? They can't say yes, because then you're like, oh, you'll let me be with someone else?
Yeah.
So they have to say no. The answer has to be no. Yeah. Right? So they'll say no. It's like, okay, then. And they be like, I mean, that makes sense.
That makes sense. You Jedi mind tricked them.
Jedi mind trick. Or it's the hug and slap. Hell, you're a sweetheart. I thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you, but I'm in a relationship and I'm not trying to cheat.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
You know,
it's smooth. It's
smooth.
like,
their ego is not bruised, because when they around their boys and they drunk and they high, you bruise their ego. They ready to fight you.
Yeah. That's so retarded.
They ready to fight. I don't care if you're a woman or a man.
I could never understand that. Sometimes you see guys like getting angry. You hear what she said? Bro, leave it alone.
She's not checking.
Yeah, she just, not every, like.
It's because they around their boys and their boys is like, oh, she told.
Yeah. Wow, but that's a good one. I think that's a good advice for all the females out there. But like, I just always have one thing to say to all men. Don't think that you could just touch another woman or whatever. Just leave it alone. Like, if she doesn't want to date you or there's no thing, leave it. There are different women. Right. If there's another woman that's going to like you, you can hug with her, but don't go there. Like, I always tell, I don't like it when I see guys like trying to touch up on women, like, yo, check yourself, fool. Like, I don't like that, man. Like, I try to teach my son, but he's 7, but I want to teach him to be a respectable man. You don't have to be perfect, but don't touch, man. Right. Don't touch. She said, no. Woman tell me no, but no. But no, you told me no. Right. No is no. Exactly. I don't want like, no, but we can kiss. No. No.
Exactly.
But this is good advice for young women. But how did you get to Empire? Like, because I know you also want to do stuff in movies with scripts, work with movies and stuff. But why did you decide to go to Empire? What pulled you to Ghazi?
After managing Chris and for all those years, 12 years.
12 years long, yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah. I was stressed out. I'm not even gonna lie. My hair was falling out, everything. Yeah. And I realized, I said, you know what? I've been giving my life to this business 20-something years. Mm-hmm. No kids, no husband. I haven't had any balance in my life. I need to take a break. And then my mom was a little sick. So, and I have a sister, she's Down syndrome, so she can't be by herself. So when my mom's sick, I have to fly home and take care of her. So I said, you know what? I'm going to move back home to the Bay Area, take care of my mother, take care of my sister, take a break. Maybe I'll just get a regular job, a 9 to 5. So I don't have to creatively think about an album and deal with artists and get them to move in the way that I need them to move. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of psychology and sociology at work. So I applied for jobs. I was on Indeed and everything else. And I never got one interview.
There's the Lord. There's a God telling you, you shouldn't do this. Your destiny is something else.
Absolutely. And I have always worked and lived on faith, right? So after a while, I'm at home. It's 5 months of not working. At this point, I got my favorite TV shows that I'm watching. It's my favorite show. So I had a friend by the name of Jilly. Her name is Jilly. She's a close friend to me to this day. She called me. She said, what you doing, girl? Oh, I'm watching my show. Can I call you back? She's like, okay. So then she calls me the next couple of days. Hey, girl, what you up to? Oh, I'm watching such and such and such. Girl, you need to know about this show. It's da-da-da-da. I'm on episode da-da-da-da. And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So then the next time she called me and she was like, bitch, if you tell me you're watching a show another time, you are Tina Davis. You should not be sitting at your house watching television. And I said, well, what else am I going to do? And she's like, Ghazi's looking for an A&R. I was like, Ghazi? I said, for what? She said, for Empire. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He does have Empire. It is in San Francisco. I said, I'm not trying to go do A&R, man. Tired of being in the studio till 5 a.m. I'm not doing it. She's like, I don't think that's what he's looking for. I think he needs to build a department. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do it. I want to work at a regular 9 to 5. I was like, fuck it, I'll work at Starbucks. I just don't want to be in music. And she said, okay. So she texted Ghazi and said, Ghazi, Tina Davis is in San Francisco and she's not working. You should call her. So then Ghazi texted me and said, is this Tina Davis, Chris Brown, Tina Davis? And I said, no, this is Tina Davis, Tina Davis. I'm not Chris Brown's Tina Davis. I'm Tina Davis. And he said, awesome. Can you come to my office so I can meet with you? And I was like, all right, I'll come up to San Francisco. So I go up to the office. And you know, when you're in an interview, I said, I guess I'm interviewing for this job that I really don't want. Yeah. But okay, I'll come. So I go and I meet with them. And for 3 hours, he talked to me for 3 hours straight. He didn't ask me one question. Nothing. He told me his vision for Empire. He told me why he created Empire. He talked about his family. He talked about his life. He talked about his passions. And he talked about himself, not in an arrogant way, but just saying, this is who I am. This is the makeup of who I am. I come from an oppressed team and family, and this is what I believe in, and this is why I created it. And in that vision, I saw that I was supposed to be at Empire.
Okay, you felt the energy.
I felt his energy. I believed him. And I said, you know what? This is what I do in my sleep. You want me to start your A&R department? I said, listen, I'm not going to be in the studio till 4 a.m. I'm letting you know. That is not what I want to do. He's like, no, eventually we'll bring someone in so that you don't have to do that. He said, but I need to start a department. I don't have an A&R department. So I was like, okay, I really did that for Def Jam. I structured it and everything. So I said, okay, I could do that here. And the rest is history.
Wow.
That 10-year vision that he had,
he
did it in 5.
Wow. Yeah, he's a different type of animal. That focus, he's relentless.
Relentless.
Yeah.
But he's an artist. I tell all of my employees, he's an artist.
Yeah.
He's the biggest artist we have on the label.
Yeah. he still come with a new album.
He should.
Ghazi and you.
He should.
Auto-tune and everything. It's gonna
hey.
Yeah. And now you're president at Empire. What do you do day to day? Like, take us in your day-to-day process.
Well, in the music business, we all know not one day is the same. It varies. On Thursdays, we have our A&R meetings, whether it's pitching meetings or creative meetings where they play music and they play, get advice from other A&R people. But I'll come into the office, knock out emails, be basically told what to do by my assistant, Elena. And
who's also here?
Yes.
With a camera. Shout out.
And I pretty much kind of like go, every day is different. Some days I'm mentoring the employees in the company and I have 2 or 3 calls. Some days, a lot of days I have meetings that we have to go in, whether we're meeting new talent, new executives, just overall structure and ideas about what's happening with the company. Artist visits. Sometimes the artist is in there. Sometimes I'm leaving to go to the studio because we have a 10,000 square foot recording studio separate from our office. So sometimes I'm over there and listening to albums, or we have an artist come in and they present their project to us and do our little Voltron meeting where we talk about what our plans are for the project. But every day is different. It's anywhere and in between.
Yeah, but like, because like after you left Def Jam, you started your management company. You didn't want to be a manager, but you became a manager. What happened to that company? Like, because afterwards you was like, I'm done with the music. I'm going to look for a regular job. What happened in all those months that make you want to leave something you've been so long invested in?
Just like I said, just trying to have a life. I wanted balance. I wanted to not have to wake up at 5 a.m. because Chris Brown hit some guy at a concert or that was pushing up on him or something, or 7 Streeter, I'm working with 7 trying to convince her that she needs to do this show or wear this kind of outfit. I was tired. I was just tired and burned out because I did not take a break. I can't remember going on vacation for Def Jam when I was at Def Jam. Not once. So in that many years, not going on vacation and then going straight to Chris. And after Run It, we never stopped. So we were running it. So I never had a time for me. Even the relationships that I had, the guys would break up with me every other day. Every other relationship, it would end because I was never around. And they're like, I can't be here by myself.
So you never got time to build a a healthy relationship or married or
no. I've been engaged. I was engaged when I was at Def Jam. That's a whole nother story. But I was engaged at Def Jam, but that didn't last. A lot of times I went from mortgage bankers thinking, oh, I don't want nobody in the industry. I want to get a mortgage banker. He's just about his business. But then mortgage bankers like rap too. So they listen to Hot 97. Dame, so Dame and Jay breaking up. Tell me what's happening. You know the real truth. And I'm like, I'm not finna tell you that. That's their business. Yeah. Well, you my woman.
Oh, serious?
You know, I should know. I was like, yeah, okay.
Oh, you had these type of conversations?
In the bed. And I'm like, oh, okay. And again, remember I tell you, I compartmentalize emotions. Yeah. So for me, it was like, oh, okay. After this, I'll never speak to you again.
Oh, wow.
Not be back. And I'm like, oh, no, baby, let's just go to sleep. I can't talk to you about their business. And I never call them again.
This woman has left the building.
Yeah.
Wow. And then afterwards, like, because at a certain time, you maybe want to get kids. Or you have kids?
No.
Because of the music industry?
Because of the music industry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because of my career. At some point as a woman, you either choose and you have a great relationship. Because one thing about me, I did not want to have children without having a strong partner and a strong foundation.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that because the job that I had, whether it's A&R or management, is very stressful. And I didn't want to bring that stress to my child.
Yeah.
And I couldn't take care of a child by myself without a father figure there. Mm-hmm. I'm a child of divorced parents. So for me, it's important to have that unit.
Yeah.
I felt like it was important to have a mother and a father in my child's life.
True.
And me at the time, because thank God I was successful, I didn't have a lot of time to give to a child.
But and looking back, were there like sometimes regrets that maybe you skipped a part of your own chapter in your own book for success and music? And like, do you sometimes think about it, or have you ever thought about it, or you just give it a place, you put it in a box and it's gone?
Honestly, I think I thought about it at a certain age, around 34, 35, right? And was like, okay, so what am I going to do? Am I going to keep working or stop and try to have children? Because I can't do them both. Not with the time that I have.
Yeah.
So I had to pray on it, and I basically made the decision that I'm gonna put my career first. And it maybe I'm not supposed to have children. I'm supposed to be nurturing these artists and these employees that I'm a part of. To me, I've raised a lot of kids in this industry.
Yeah, like how you spoke about Chris Brown at the beginning, 13 years, that makes you like his entertainment mom, to say it that way. Wasn't it hard to like separate and go to the left and he go to the right, like as being so long? Because he's been loyal since the beginning. You guys build an empire. You gave us one of the biggest R&B artists of this generation right now. I can imagine that also being, like your son. How was that? You know, it's crazy because when it was time for us to part ways, I was ready because it was a lot. In several ways. A lot because he doesn't sleep. He had to be occupied 24 hours a day pretty much. Okay.
Because his mind moves. He's always creating. He'll call me 4 a.m. I got this idea for the video. Can you write this down and tell me if this makes sense? Or I got this idea for this song. Or I have this idea for... It was always something creative that he had. I want to create a line. I want to do a philanthropic. I want to do this. So for me, that was a lot. But then with the Rihanna situation and all the other stuff that was going on, I was putting out fires every 5 minutes. And at that point, I had some medical issues from ulcers to cysts growing, things like that, that caused from stress. Yeah. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have to go. But mind you, because we were so close, I did not want to leave without him having someone. And every time I said I was about to leave, it was always drama. Or I'd say, you know what? I think it's time for me to back up.
He didn't want you to go.
No, it was always extra. It was a lot. And between him and his mom, it was a lot to make that transition. And I mean, mainly because that's security for both of us. And I was there from the beginning. So, and because I introduced him to everyone in the industry, I think a lot of times they thought that the relationship that people would not basically believe in him or put time in him because I'm gone. So I think that might have scared them a little bit. But for me, I was just ready to stop. So I had to find someone that would take him from me.
Oh, wow.
To get out of there.
Yeah. Because what I thought was very interesting in his situation, I like the fact, I don't know if it was your idea, to do the documentary. He did a documentary where he explained his own background in the whole Rihanna situation. I think that was a very smart move.
That was after me.
That was after me. Okay, no, I think that was a very smart move. And what I liked about his situation is that he proved you could come back after being canceled. Because he was like literally canceled. I remember at the radio station where I work at, there was like,
they wouldn't play it.
Yeah, we couldn't. And then I played some songs and then I got like, not dispelled, but I was like, why do you do that? I said, his music is amazing. He did that Deuces song. I was playing it. He was like, no, you can't play it. I was like, yo, this is his comeback song. And then afterwards, it blew up in the States. And then people was like, okay, we can play him again. And he's been smashing ever since. I think that's very unique. I don't know how you felt about it, but that's to me is like his undeniable talent and his perseverance. You
know, it's funny because at like your station, no one would play him on the radio.
Yeah.
And at that point, you had to have radio. There were no DSPs and different other platforms for you to use, to break. No TikTok. Twitter wasn't even around, really. It was just starting. So it was hard to try and get him, over that hump or get people to change their minds because before it happened, everyone loved him. Kids, parents were dropping their kids off at hotels like, go get Chris Brown. Go get him. And I'm like, if you don't put your daughter back in your car, stop. Yeah. Like parents were sending their kids to the hotel. It was that bad because he was a sweetheart to the world, right? Yeah. So they were like, he's a good kid. I want you to marry this kid. Go get him.
But people don't know that parents do
that.
That. Yeah, they don't know. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, and fortunately, his mom and all of us, we were not down with that. We were like, no, take your child and leave. We'd have security handle it. But what was we talking? I'm sorry, I missed the point.
No, explain like how, like I was saying, like how he made his comic with Deuces and nobody was playing it on the radio.
So before. The radio, yeah. So what we decided was we needed to figure out a way to get him back on radio. And the way that we did it was we put him on features for everything. Anybody that called us, he jumped on it. It was a feature on everything. And meanwhile, Tyga stood next to him. He was the only one that would stand right next to him and do videos and everything else with him, right? So he started doing mixtapes. You remember they were doing mixtapes and stuff like that. And Tyga introduced him to Colin, who was a video director who was just starting at the time, Colin Tilley. And so Chris and I started finding new producers, finding new writers. We had Joel James and Seven Streeter and Kevin. And Kevin played him Deuces, and we were like, that shit is crazy. And he had produced it and wrote it himself, but then he had, verses. So we ended up putting that together and we were like, that's the strategy. We're going to do a whole bunch of mixtapes and just keep flooding the business, putting music out, but we'll also feature on everybody that calls us. So every time a big artist puts a record out, they have to play it. So they have to play it on radio. So after a while, every other record was featuring Chris Brown.
Yeah.
And they had to play it because they wanted to play that artist. So
smart.
That's how we were able to get back at radio. And then Deuces came right after that.
Yeah.
And then Strip and a few others came after that from mixtapes.
Yeah.
And we made them singles. They were out on mixtapes for free. And then we put them out as singles.
Yeah. He came smacking, man. That boy.
Yeah.
He's I remember because you said in the beginning of the conversation, you knew he was going to become the Michael Jackson of this generation. Online, there were a lot of people saying, yo, he's better than Michael. He's better than... And I love Chris Brown for saying this. He was like, yo, Michael was my blueprint. I can never be better than Michael. I loved him for saying that because a lot of times the new generation don't know the impact that Michael Jackson had and still has. I mean, come on, that moonwalk, Thriller, serious? I mean, wow.
Right.
Electrifying moves, the video clips, how he was the first black artist on MTV. The first one that came with these theatrical big ass videos. We don't even, like, you see, Michael's also in my studio.
I see.
Like, Michael, rest in peace, the legend. If people talk about bad on Michael, I go moonwalking up and down their ass. Be like, no, but like, no, but I love the fact that he was so humble.
Yeah.
That he said that. I was like, yes, thank you very much, because it's so important that the new generation also gets to understand how important it is to have legends. Because nowadays, like, everybody think if you're not relevant anymore or your songs aren't charting, that you're garbage. That's why I love LL, because LL's still rapping. He's still rapping. Like, it's unbelievable, like, to see that. How do you look at those, how the new generation, how the music changed? Of course, music always changed, but how do you think, like, you see a lot of rappers still putting out music, like Fat Joe, LL Cool J, Eminem, Jay-Z, that are still doing records. How do you think about it? Because the rappers from before, like the KRS One, eventually they stopped. So what do you think about the process and the evolution of these rappers still putting out records in this day and age?
You know what? I think, first and foremost, if you're great, like LL was one of the first rappers, like, in Def Jam.
The flagship rapper that catapulted Def Jam.
You know? So, and he's always been an amazing. And all the artists you mentioned have always been amazing, and they've changed the game in some way, whether it's Fat Joe being the first one that comes from Puerto Rican that's killing it like that, you know, and bringing Big Pun. All these artists, they're not bad. They didn't stop being great.
Yeah.
Just the industry changed.
Yeah.
So when they come now with records, like LL's record is hot.
Yeah, it's dope.
He's killing it, right? Man. But I do feel that there's a different time, and these younger fans or younger consumers don't study the history of hip hop, don't study the history of music. So they don't have the same respect of those who do study the history of music. So those like myself and some of the others that did know what LL has done, or what Jay-Z contributed, or what Fat Joe contributed to the industry, respect it and cherish those people who do that. You know, I think KRS-One and all of them, I think it was an era, the change was so drastic, right? Because they were, no, don't wear jewelry, black and gold, and all we have to unity, and it was the best time, because it was actually sort of like the extension of the Harlem Renaissance for us. And it was the CNN of the ghetto, but it truly became CNN of the ghetto. And when, I don't like to call it gangster rap, but when the West Coast started kicking in, NWA started kicking in and saying fuck the police. Ice-T, who was one of the first rappers on the West Coast. I think that transition was drastic. You know, it was so drastic that they didn't, in their minds, think they had a space to come in, you know, and I think it was their choice not to do it. I do feel if they would have come with something right when it started, people would have still respected it, you know?
Because I think that's very smart with these artists nowadays. Like, you have like the Eminem still putting out his records. He's 50 plus, still doing. Jay-Z's also 50 plus, just still rapping. Nas still putting out records. I'm like, yeah, that's dope, because that's how we create a musical legacy, where you have like the Rolling Stones situation, where you could be touring and rapping, being 60. Snoop Dogg that's an icon. I think there's no rapper more famous than Snoop Dogg.
He's so good.
He's very iconic.
I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, man. He's
so good.
He's like I don't know how to call it. Like, he's on my list also to interview in the future. Like, I have a list. Like, as a kid, I've always had these names in my mind. I want to meet. I met and interview a lot of artists. The 50 Cents, the DMX, the Method Man, Redman, Nas, but Snoop and Dr. Dre, hey, I'm still, like, these people have
legends.
Yes, they're so, like, what they've done, like, together as a unit. Come on, man.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Come on.
The great thing about Snoop is that he's still the same guy he was from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Educated, elevated, but the same guy in his heart, you know? And that means a lot. That means he's not of the business, he's in the business.
Yeah. How do you look at hip hop nowadays? Like, you're from the States. We grew up listening to hip hop from the States. I started doing radio because like I used to watch MTV Raps. One of my role models is Funk Flex. He was always dropping the bombs and it's exclusive. Me in the Netherlands, I'm known for the NandoLeaks exclusive, always dropping. Like, so I kind of copy that from him. And Sway was my influence when it came to interviewing. So those were my influences doing what I do right now.
The best. That's why you're so good.
Thank you. But how do you feel about like seeing something that's from the States being popularized out there and having such an imprint worldwide? Because you're in the Netherlands right now, but look, in France is also big, in Germany hip hop is big, all across the world. How do you feel about that? Have you fathomed that already, or already like contemplate like, wow, hip hop is really worldwide?
When it was commercialized in the 90s is when I was like, this is actually something that actually can fuse into every single genre.
Yeah.
And at that time when it was commercialized, and definitely when Rock This Way came out, that remix, that's when I knew, oh, hip hop is here to stay. One, hip hop is a lifestyle. So rap is the genre of music, but hip hop is a lifestyle.
True.
They've made it into the genre.
Yeah.
But that lifestyle wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's the lifestyle of an urban community, of the ghetto, right? And once I realized it was the CNN of the ghetto, it can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It is made up to be the eyes and ears of what we do or what our people do in urban communities.
I love it.
So that fusion was amazing.
I love it. And I want to thank you. Like, I could talk hours to you, man. Like, you're such an inspiration.
Thank you.
And you have that power. Like, that power I've seen many times in my mom's eyes when she hit me with a slipper. But it's a fiercefulness and a vision you have. You're such a powerful being. The fact that you've had a big imprint in music, it's only important that we as a culture push it as well. Because a lot of times in our community, we don't talk about our greats. We only talk about, oh yeah, this person and that person, or this artist, but nothing moves without the institution. So without the institution, there's no movement. You could be the best rapper, but without the best producer, engineer, and the marketing and promotion and the whole concept, boy, you ain't nothing, man.
That's real.
So people need to really put some respect on your name. This is Tina motherfucking Davis.
Thank you.
Right here. So whenever you need anything, I'm right here. So it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure that you took your time to come to my podcast. It's my dream. I've always had a dream to take hip hop international. That's why I always travel to the States, do interviews, go with my camera on my backpack with a microphone. And you see me like last year for 50 years of hip hop, I was backstage interviewing the Locks. And people was like, how did this guy from Amsterdam get here? Because I'm a hustler.
Exactly.
That's me. So working on a documentary also. So I definitely want you in it. So
of course.
Thank you for your time. And I'm going to keep saying it. Keep doing what you do because you're an inspiration. And
thank you.
Your God-given talent is to be seen. So
thank you. I appreciate you having me here.
Hope you liked it.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Great questions. Great questions.
From the heart and the mind. That's what we do. Real Talk with Tina Davis. I told you, we only bring the realest on this podcast. And if you have a dream, just wake up and make it become reality. Because everybody has a dream, but put in the work to make it become reality. And don't believe the naysayers because they inspire you. Use them as a battery in your pack to keep going. Tina Davis just told a story. Like she said, like, one day she got fired, but another day she got Def Jam. Then she got fired, and then she got Chris Brown and went to the stars. And then she stopped. She tried to look for a job. And then they told her, no, there's no job. And then she got to Empire. Look where she is right now. Dominating the scene with an amazing catalog. Come on, man. Put some respect on her name. Go follow her on Instagram. Go follow the movement and stay hungry and blessed. NandoLeaks. Keep it hot and keep it banging. Point your head. Let's go.
Let's go.